Yeah. 2, 1.
This is CGTN.
You're watching CGTN. I'm Jeff Moody, live in Beijing.
You're watching CGTN.
Coming to you from Washington, D.C.
You're watching CGTN.
Coming to you from my room.
I'm members of this
Mark, what can you tell us about events happening there?
politics.
This is a pretty picture. Time to go see the band.
Second time back over to Beijing.
To go after
It's all about the dance.
This is CGTN. CGTN. See the difference.
big hello and welcome to our special coverage of the 19th CPC National Congress. I'm Chen Lei in Beijing. China's National Development and Reform Commission is hosting a press conference in about 15 minutes' time to review the achievements of China's economic development under the leadership of the CPC and to answer questions from the media. Now, this will be the fourth press conference held at the Media Centre on the sidelines of the 19th National Congress. Director of the National Development and Reform Commission, He Lifeng, will speak and take questions. We'll be covering this live, plus in our studio for discussions, we do have Mr. Zhao Zhongxiu, who's Vice President at the University of International Business and Economics, and Mr. Michele Geraci, Head of the China Economic Policy Programme at Nottingham University Business School, China. Now, though, let's go live to our reporter Nathan King, who is at the Media Centre where the press conference will be held. Hey there, Nathan. So, I've already had a look at the report, or the speech rather, from He Lifeng from the press conference. What are your takeaways?
Well, I mean, remember, this is the National Economic and Reform Commission, not just for the economy, but also for society's development as a whole. Big focus, obviously, is going to be on reforming the Chinese economy, not just, obviously, in the state sector, but also generally across the board, and focusing on how to make people's lives better, green initiatives, poverty alleviation, etc. I think, you know, a lot of focus, especially from the foreign watchers here, is going to be on the so-called supply side changes, reforms that China has been bringing in. What do I mean by that? Well, basically letting the market decide more and more in terms of the size of firms, getting red tape out of the way, allowing capital to move freely, working on deleveraging, i.e. less debt. For example, when it comes to firms. You know, we've already seen a lot of these supply side reforms actually start working. If you look at, for example, over the last couple of quarters of state-owned enterprises, especially in steel and aluminium, what you've been seeing is actually prices rise. Why is that? Because the demand is there and the overcapacity that's been in a lot of these industries has been cut. I was in Hebei province at the beginning of the year, and I can tell you that the government were actually shutting down steel mills, trying to cut capacity as the rest of the world, including the United States, has asked them to do. That is starting to bearing fruit because you're starting to see profits, but also rising prices as well. So it's a difficult balance.
So, Nathan, of all the things that are difficult to balance as part of China's restructuring of the economy, as a foreign reporter, what interests you the most?
Well, I think, you know, let's not talk about me, but let's talk about the West looking in. You know, there's this big debate in the financial press around the world about whether the market is decisive, using General Secretary Xi's words, both in his speech and, of course, at the in the 2013 and the 5-year plan, or whether there's going to be more focus on making state-owned enterprises bigger, smarter, tougher, to become sort of global as well as national champions, or can you do both at the same time? And the other thing is opening up. You know, there is a lot of foreign firms here who think the pace, while it may be happening, the pace is too slow, and that they don't have access, especially into markets with technology, the financial system, etc., etc. And even though, you know, they have this made in China policy here, which is great for China, it's showing a lot of investment in key areas, for example, like semiconductors, robotics, and the like. Foreign companies feel that may give companies here, Chinese companies, an unfair advantage. So this is very, very important press conference to watch. Every word will be dissected, not just here in Beijing, but around the world as well.
Thank you, Nathan. I'll let you get to that dissecting and also get a good spot for CGTN. Now, for more of what's happening on the ground in terms of the economy, let's cross live to our reporters Xia Cheng, who's here in Beijing, and Yang Chengxi, who's in Shanghai, both very seasoned business reporters. Xia Cheng, let me start with you. Over the past couple of years, we've seen China focusing heavily on deepening economic reforms, driving innovation, and this was clearly reiterated in General Secretary Xi's work report. Tell us how regional integration and initiatives like the Xiong'an area play a role.
Well, it certainly plays a role here, and the supply side reform will continue to be the trunk of a series of economic reforms. That is for sure at this point, and the steel sector is a main target. China's steel output dipped almost 4% in September to a 7-month low as a result. Iron ore futures jumped 5% though on Friday. Investors thought less steel production means higher steel prices, and less urge for steelmakers to keep iron ore prices down in their orders. But analysts don't believe iron ore prices will stay strong as the sector is becoming smaller in China. And I want to mention Beijing's own supply side reform here. It's a regional one dubbed Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei integration. Again, for starters, steel bears the brunt. Hebei is an industrial heavy province with huge steel capacity. Tangshan, a steel production hub in Hebei, is going to halve its steel production before the end of this year, and that would wipe off 7.5% of the national production, and 3 other cities in the region are following suit. Yet the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei integration, or Greater Beijing if you will, is more than steel. If you take the bullet train to Tianjin from Beijing, there's nothing much to see here outside the capital. The area hasn't had a chance to boom as Beijing has taken too many roles in the region. Now Beijing wants to redistribute industrial and business resources evenly in the region. So the 3 places will develop infrastructure together, trade together, and make plans together. That's the capital city's version of supply side reform, cutting redundant roles for one city.
And of course, in Xiong'an, a lot of tech companies have been told to invest there already. Hey there, Chengxi. So the big takeaway for Shanghai so far at the Congress is the upgrading of the free trade zone into a free trade port. Tell us more about that.
Well, next year marks the 40th anniversary of China's reform in opening up policy. And the city of Shanghai, which has long been a major financial and business center of China, has been on the forefront of the country's economic transformation. Shanghai launched China's first free trade zone in 2013, a symbol of the country's effort to attract foreign investments. After 4 years of development, it is now home to 48,000 companies, 1/6 of them foreign invested. Today, some 610 multinational corporations have set up their regional headquarters in the zone, and 416 of them have set up regional R&D centers. The free trade zone also helped consolidate the city's role as a financial center in Asia, because now 28 of the world's top 50 wealth management firms have set up wholly owned enterprises in the zone. Now, why is this place so attractive? It is because the zone employs various measures, such as the investment negative list, to lessen administrative restrictions over businesses. A new version of the negative list in 2017 has reduced restriction items from 190 to 95, giving companies worldwide more incentives to come. The zone, the latest innovation, as you said, is the so-called free trade ports, which are expected to be set up in the Yangshan bonded port area, as well as the Pudong International Airport bonded area. City officials said this week that the concept is still in the planning process, but once it gets approved by the central government, the free trade ports will make international logistics more efficient by providing more tariff incentives. The Shanghai Free Trade Zone is now a pilot of policy innovation for the country's 10 other regional free trade zones that are modeled after it. Lei?
Exciting stuff. Thank you so much for that, Cheng Xi and Xia Cheng. We'll speak to you in just a little bit. Now, we have about 6 minutes to go till the actual press conference of the NDRC starts. Of course, the theme is the steady, healthy and sustainable development of the Chinese economy with the guidance of the new developmental vision. Let's get to our studio guest. Let me start with you, Mr. Zhao. You know, none of this is really new, the rhetoric, the initiatives and so on. But, of course, we will see some subtle tweaks to China's development methods as we move forward. So what are these adjustments that you see ahead?
Well, from the report President Xi addressed to the Congress, and we found that it's a new era, new development vision, and so that's why we have a new policy. So what's the new? New means, well, to transist from the traditional development path to the which spectrum on the high speed to now the high quality of development, and also continue the innovation, and well, also the low carbon green development, and also maintain the balance of regional development, and more importantly, since in a new era of globalization, that's the first the more open economic system. So that's what we lead the world to continue for this globalization. So I think this is the new vision for not from China, but also for the world.
And Mr. Geraci, I mean, in terms of more practical terms, what does all this mean for foreign investors in opportunities?
Maybe less than before, because it's almost a zero-sum game. People always say that opening up globalization brings benefits for everyone, and it probably does, but in the long term. in the meantime, until we get to the long term, there are winners and losers. And of course, if I was a Chinese policymaker, I would concentrate first on developing my own country. And so
the national champions,
as we do with many reasons. There is a very strong argument even in the theory about having a protection of infant industry. They need to develop. We saw the example, for example, in the case of mobile network, how China Mobile was a little bit left out 10 years ago when the standard for 3G was being developed. Now we have champions. We have Xiaomi, maybe that is one of the biggest company in China. And so when the country needs to look after itself, as it should, people outside may suffer. And we heard before that foreign investors always find difficult to enter China. We have negative list, trade is difficult, acquisition of Chinese company in many sectors is pretty much very difficult, as it should be. China, let's not forget, it's the biggest economy almost in the world, the number 2, depending how we count it, but it's made up by people who are number 80, 85 poorest in the world. And so it's a very unusual situation. We have a big economy made up by not so wealthy people. And so the priority is on increasing income per capita of the individuals.
Do you agree with that it's a zero-sum game in terms of domestic interests and international investors?
Actually, no, I don't agree with that. It's not a zero sum, but for the past 40 years, foreign investment in China, it benefits from the development and the expansion of the China market. And in the meantime, the Chinese economy, also Chinese sector, both the state-owned and the private, also expand very quickly. So this is a sum game, and all are win from this openness and the expansion.
But Mr. Geraci meant for the short term. There are losers and winners. In the long term, yes, we perhaps will all win from China's growing prosperity.
Well, this is based on the competence. You never can maintain your advantage, and for local competitors, they will learn from you and compete, and will gain their competence. So.
And let's talk about the types of supply-side reforms. In the past few years, it's all been about subtraction, deleveraging, destocking, and decapacity. But now, in the new work report, we're hearing about new growth drivers, new points of demand. What particular policy measures do you see? This is for both of you. Who wants to go first?
Well, actually, we could concentrate, as you mentioned, and now we are for the better life for the people. And that means we should take care about the high-end consumption and develop these sectors, like high, beside the necessary goods and the luxury goods and the services and the quality of life, improve the quality of life, and also now with the new technology that we share the economy. The so-called shared, the vehicle, the bicycle, and etc. And also we are re-engineering of the product side. So that means the supply chain. You adapt the supply chain, improve the quality, and of course, more modern service sector, and so more efficient service and more reliable service. So that's be, and of course develop the human resources, and that's most important, and this will be the driving force for the further development.
I know this is a key point you want to make about China's software and hardware. Go
yes,
on.
Because it's seen from the eyes of foreign analysts, economists, we see China has one of the best hardwares in the world, infrastructure. Even the US now is looking at China for developing airports. You come to airports, Beijing airport, you go to JFK in New York, and you think, wow, have I landed in the wrong country? Is that America or
and
some other
trains.
place? And the trains in the US basically don't exist to the standard we have here. And I've been here, I tell you, I've been here 9 years, and the time that it takes from Beijing to Shanghai by train has gone down from 12 hours into 9, and now 4.5. The problem is that it's easy to spend money in hardware, because the money is immediately invested into machinery that creates output, but when it comes to innovation, it takes longer.
Okay, we will continue on that point in just a little bit, but for now we're going to go to the press center of the 19th CPC National Congress, which is holding its 4th press conference. The director of the National Development and Reform Commission, He Lifeng, as you can see, taking the stage, and deputy directors Zhang Yong and Ying Jizhe will be briefing the media on their work.
先生们、记者朋友们，大家下午好，欢迎出席 新闻中心举办的第4次中外记者招待会。下午我们请来了国家发展改革委党组书记、主任何立峰同志。
Party Secretary and Chairman of NDRC, Mr. He Lifeng, Vice Chairman Zhang Yong, and Vice Chairman Ning Jizhe,
以新发展理念为引领，
on
推进中国经济
the efforts made to
健康
promote stable,
可持续发展
sound and
有关情况，
sustainable
并
economic
回答记
development
者们
under the guidance of the
感兴趣
new
关心的
development
问题。
philosophy and answer
我们
your
还是
questions.
在发布和回答的过程中呢，是用
For the briefing
同声传
and
译。
answers,
提
we
问的
will
时候用
have
交互传译。
simultaneous
下面请
interpretation,
何
and
主
for
任
the
做
questions,
介
we will
绍。
have consecutive interpretation.
女士们、
Mr.
先
He,
生们、
please.
各位媒体朋友，大家下午好。
Ladies and
各
gentlemen,
位朋
friends
友
from the media,
牺
good
牲
afternoon.
星期六休息时间参加我们
I
今
want
天
to
的
thank you
记者
for
会。
coming
敬业
on
精神令
weekend.
我们非常的
We
敬
are
佩。
deeply touched by your
首先，我代表
dedication
国家
and
发改委
professionalism.
对
First
新闻
of
媒
all,
体
on
和社会
behalf
各
of
界
NDRC, I'd
长期
like
以来给予
to
的关心、
express
理
heartfelt
解和
thanks
支
to
持，
media
表示诚挚
organizations
的谢
and
意
all
和
those
由衷的
who
敬
have
意。
shown understanding and support for our
最近这
work.
几天，
In the
全
past
党全
few
国都在
days,
认
the
真
entire
学习
party
习
and
近平总书
country
记
are
在党的
studying
19
the
大上
report
所做的
delivered
报
by
告。
General Secretary Xi
我们深
Jinping
刻感受
at
到
the 19th
报告主
National
题鲜明、
Congress of
思
the
想深
party.
刻，
We can
内
see
涵
that the
丰富，
report has
全
clear
面系
theme,
统
deep
总结
thought,
了
and rich
党
content.
的18大
It
以
is a
来
comprehensive
党
and
和国家事业发
systematic
生的历史巨
overview
变，
of the historic changes
深
that
刻
have
分析
taken
了
place since the
当前
18th National
世情国
Congress
情、
in the
党情的
party and the
新变
course
化，
of the country.
明确了今
It
后一个
is a
时
deep
期党的历史
analysis
使命。
of the new changes in the
报
world,
告
the
科学做出了
the
中国特
party
色
and
社
the
会主义进
country,
入新时代的重大政治
identifies the
判断，
historic missions for the
准确
party
指出了
in
我
the
国
years
社会的主
ahead.
要矛盾，已经转
In the
化为
report,
人民日益增长的
it
美好
has
生活
drawn
需
the
要
major
和不平
political
衡、不充分的发展之
conclusion
间的矛
that
盾。
socialism with
鲜
Chinese
明提出了新
characteristics
时代
has
中国特
entered
色
a
社会
new
主义思想
era,
和
and
十
it's
四
pointed
条
out
基本
that
方
the
略。
principal contradiction has
报告充分
evolved
展现了
into the
以习近
contradiction
平同志
between
为核心的
unbalanced
党
and
中央
inadequate
对国
development
家、
and the
对民
people's
主、
evergrowing
对
needs
人民、
for the better
对历
life.
史的厚重
And
情怀
it
和
lays
使命
out
担当，
the thought on
是我
socialism
们
with
党
Chinese
带领
characteristics
全国
for
各
a
族
new
人民
era and the
决胜全
14-point
面建
basic
成小康
policy.
社会，
It
夺
demonstrates
取
the
新时代
commitment
中
and
国特色社
conviction
会
of
主义
Party
伟大
Central
胜利，
Committee with Comrade Xi
实现
Jinping
中
as
华
the
民族
core
伟大复兴
towards
中
the
国梦
country, the
的
nation,
政治宣
people,
言
and
和行
history.
动纲领，
It's a political
令人备受
declaration
鼓
and
舞，
program
使
of
人激昂
action
奋进。
for completing the building of
国家发改委
moderately prosperous
是宏
society
观
in
调
all
控
respects
和综合
and
经济部门，
achieving the victory of
具体到报
socialism
告
with Chinese
用
characteristics
了
for a
很
new
大的
era
篇幅
and
阐述经济工作。
realizing Chinese dream of
对18
national
大以来的经济
rejuvenation
社会
is
发展
highly
成就
inspiring and
进行了
encouraging.
深入的
The
总结，
NDRC is
对
responsible
当
for
前经济形势
macro regulation of
进
the
行了深刻
economy.
分析，
A large part of the
对
party
今后党
Congress
领导经济
report
工
is
作的
about
重点任务
economic work.
进行了
It
科学
gives
的
an
部署。
overview of the
我们正在
economic
认
and
真地学
social
习领会，
development since the 18th National
回
Congress,
顾过去5
provides
年
deep
的经济社会
analysis
发
of
展
the
工作，
current economic situation
在以习
and
近平同
spells
志为
out
核
major
心的党中
tasks
央坚
of
强领导下，
economic work under the
面对
leadership
严
of
峻
the
复杂的
party.
国际
We
国
are
内环境，
studying the report
我
carefully
们
to
始终
gain
坚
a
持
better
以人民为中
understanding.
心的发展
Looking
思想，
back on the past 5
坚
years
持
under the
稳
strong
中求进
leadership
工作
of the
总基调，
party Central Committee with
认真
Comrade
贯彻
Xi
落
as the
实
core,
新发展理
facing
念，
challenging and
深入推
complex
进共
domestic
体
and
才结构改
international
革，
circumstances. We've been
不断
committed
创
to
新完善宏观调
people-centered
控，
development
全面
philosophy,
深化
pursue
经济体制
progress
改
while
革，
maintaining stability,
深入实施
following
创
new
新驱动发
development
展等战
concepts
略，
and deepened
统
supply-side
筹推
structural
进
reform.
区
We
域
have
城乡协
improved
同协调发展，
macro
持续
regulation,
提升
comprehensively
开放型
deepened
经济发展
economic
水平，
system reform,
扎实
and
推进
pursued
美丽中国建
innovation-driven
设，
development,
有力
pursued
有
coordinated
序
development
有
of
效地
different
推动
regions and
我
rural
国经
urban
济社会
areas, and
平稳、
upgraded
健
our
康、
open
可持续
economy,
发展，
taken concrete
取
steps
得
to
了
build
举
a
世瞩目
beautiful
的
China,
辉煌成绩。
and promoted
具体可以从3
stable,
方面
sound, and
来观察。
sustainable economic and social
从经济增长来
development
看，
in an effective and
在全球
orderly
经
way.
济艰
A
难
great
复苏
deal
的大
has
背
been
景下，
achieved. To be
过
specific
去
in
4
terms
年，
of economic
我国
growth,
经济
despite Despite slow recovery of the global economy over the past 4 years, our economy has grown by 7.2% annually on average. The economic aggregate grew from 54 trillion RMB yuan in 2012 to 74 trillion RMB yuan last year. Since the beginning of this year, the economy has sustained the momentum of progress while maintaining stability. We expect that the 6.5% growth target will be met smoothly, and we will work to strive for a better result. At the end of the year, China will become an economy of over 80 trillion yuan. For the past few years, China's economy has maintained medium-high growth, taking a leading position among major economies in the world. China's economy accounts for about 15% of the global economy, but our economy contributed more than 30% to global growth every year, ranking the first place in the world. In terms of the quality of development, for the past 5 years, China's economic structure has been improved. with consumption exceeding investment and tertiary industry exceeding the secondary industry. Final consumption and services are playing a bigger role in underpinning economic development. In the first 3 quarters, consumption contributed 64.5% to economic growth, and services sector accounted for 52.9% of GDP. Regional development pattern is being improved. Progress is made in new type of urbanization. In 2016, permanent urban residents account for 57.35% of the total population. There has been an orderly shift of growth of drivers. New technologies, new industries, new models, and new businesses are emerging in 2016. Scientific advances contributed 56.2% to economic growth. 1.55 trillion yuan was spent on research and development.
In terms of people's livelihood, both employment and poverty reduction, 2 important indicators, have seen strong performance. We promoted employment with innovation and entrepreneurship, adding over 30 million urban jobs each year for 4 years in a row. In the first 9 months of this year, we created 10.97 million new jobs. Poverty reduction has been advanced. We lifted over 55 million people out of poverty in 4 years, and another over 10 million this year. Poverty ratio fell to 4.5% at the end of 2016, and it is expected to drop to below 4% by the end of this year. Meanwhile, over 5.8 million people have been relocated from inhospitable areas. A review of world civilizations shows that such great achievements can only be made under the CPC leadership and under the socialist system. But these achievements have not come easily. In the past 5 years, they are attributable to the strong leadership and sound decision-making of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and to the unity, perseverance, and hard work of people of all ethnic groups. Since the 18th Party Congress, the CPC Central Committee has focused on the principal contradiction and main aspects of contradiction of economic and social development. Taking account of the long cycle of economic development and the political and economic landscape of the world, formulated an economic policy framework. The CPC Central Committee has played a key role in this process, drawing a major conclusion that economic development has entered a new normal, which concerns the overall perspective on economic development, putting forward the vision of innovative, coordinated, green, and open development that is for everyone, stressing the importance of supply-side structural reform, which concerns the objective and task of economic development, earnestly implementing the concept of seeking truth from facts and seeking progress while maintaining stability, which concerns the approach to ensuring success in economic work. In practice, this economic policy framework aims at both addressing problems and achieving targets, and stresses both top-level design and specific operations, both short-term and long-term interests. This policy framework is well-planned and reasonable, and has been implemented in an effective and orderly manner, and it has generated positive responses, properly handled problems, and increased development expectations. The practice over the past 5 years has proven that this policy framework has both proceeded from and guided practices, and it has been constantly enriched by practices as well. It is the latest outcome of the political economics of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and has contributed to the wisdom, the Chinese wisdom, to the innovation and development of Marxist political economics. It has become a significant component of socialism with Chinese characteristics for the new era, and a fundamental principle to ensure economic work for the new era. At the same time, we are keenly aware that our economic and social development is facing many difficulties and challenges, which needs to be carefully addressed. The report of the 19th Party Congress points out the evolution of the principal contradiction facing Chinese society. The report mentions the vision of finishing the building of a moderately prosperous society in all respects by 2020, basically realizing social modernization by 2035, and making China a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful by 2050. For this to happen, we need to carefully study and implement the decisions of the 19th Party Congress, further strengthen political consciousness in 4 aspects and confidence in 4 aspects, carefully study the new features, new developments, and new problems of the principal social contradictions at different stages and in different time periods of social and economic development, carefully analyze the reasons, accurately grasp the principal contradictions and main aspects of contradictions of economic and social development, keep innovating and improving macroeconomic regulation, putting forward targeted solutions, striving to achieve better quality, more efficient, fairer, and more sustainable development. These are my opening remarks. And Through these remarks, I've given responses to the questions raised by many journalists to NDRC. Now, my colleagues and I are ready to take your questions. Thank you very much, Chairman He, for your concise and important opening remarks. Now the floor is open. Please identify your media affiliations before raising the questions.
谢谢主持人，我是新华社的记者。我的问题是提给何立峰主任。何主任您好，过去5年来，一直有声音质疑中国经济会出现硬着陆，但事实上我们看到中国经济稳中有进，一枝独秀。作为宏观调控部门的负责人，您认为中国经济为什么行？从前3个季度的经济增速来看，很多媒体和机构评价说，中国经济企稳态势已经很明显了，甚至有观点认为新的周期已经来临。请问您怎么看待这个问题？谢谢。
Thank you. With the Xinhua News Agency, I have a question for Chairman He Lifeng. Thank you for being with us today. Over the past 5 years, we have heard predictions from time to time of a hard landing for the Chinese economy. But in reality, the economy made steady progress and outperformed many other major economies. As someone in charge of micro-regulation, what, in your view, contributed to China's economic success? According to many media organizations and institutions, the growth rate in the first 3 quarters of this year suggests a steady momentum of the economy and even the beginning of a new economic cycle. What is your judgment?
好，谢谢。
Thank you.
2012年到今天呢，应该说是全球经济是在艰难复苏。
Until now, we can see difficult recovery of the global economy, but China's economy has maintained stable growth and progress. On the stability side, I think there are 4 important points. First, our economic indicators are stable. In 2012, our economy grew by 7.9%. In the 3rd quarter of this year, China's economy grew by 6.9%. From 2012 to 2016, as I said, our economic growth was 7.2% on average. And from Q1 to Q3 this year, the economy grew by 6.9%. In 2012, the economy was 54 trillion, and in 2016, it was 74 trillion RMB yuan. At the end of this year, without any surprise, we can expect that our economy will exceed 80 trillion RMB yuan. That we achieve within 5 years' time. That's an increase of more than 20 trillion, about 4 or 5 trillion every year. And this year, it could be more than 6 trillion. It's more or less like the total economy of a medium-sized country. So it's not easy to achieve. Although our growth rate has moved from the high growth to medium high growth, but the actual amount of growth is getting bigger. Second, the prices are stable. Over the past few years, CPI was about 2%, especially stable prices for agricultural products. So our people have a better sense of gain. So stable price has contributed a lot to economic development. And the 3rd point is employment. From 2012, which saw more than 12 million new jobs, and then we created 30 million jobs in the following year. And every year we've been creating more. In September this year, in the first 9 months of this year, we created 10.97 million new jobs. And by the end of the year, we could create more than 13 million new jobs. That's more than 65 million new jobs in 5 years. Without stable economic development, that would not have been possible. And fourthly, we have achieved stable progress in poverty alleviation. Every year, we lift more than 10 million people out of poverty, and the HCR would be lower than 4% this year. We have several years to go before the deadline of our goal. It's not easy, but we have been moving forward, and we have worked so hard to meet the target. On the progress side, as mentioned in the report of the Party Congress, we carried out more than 1,500 reform measures. All those are difficult reforms, and we've made good progress in reforms. And we've made good progress in bringing down cost, reducing inventory, deleveraging. For instance, in reducing overcapacity of steel, we've applied more legal and economic means to cut excess capacity. We have cut overcapacity in steel by 100 million tons, and for coal, we have cut by more than 400 million tons. At the same time, we need to provide jobs for more than 1 million people. So progress has been made in this process. And in transforming and upgrading our economy, we have also moved forward. We have a large number of traditional industries. Unlike traditional companies, traditional industries have pursued technological innovation and pursued research and development and being transformed at a faster pace. And we have seen booming new businesses, new models, like bike sharing, car sharing, e-business, e-commerce. Such new business models are emerging. During the National Day holiday season, many people traveled abroad for sightseeing. Many of them feel strange that when they are abroad, they find it not convenient to use IT platforms. But IT platforms and technologies are so convenient when they are home. So the development of IT and e-business has improved our people's daily lives. According to the report by some media organizations, China has more than 90 unicorn companies, accounting for about 1/3 of the world's total. Even catching up with countries with largest number of unicorn companies. So we can see the prosperity of new businesses, new industries. This is a testament to the improvement of business environment. And this has laid a solid foundation for future development. So we can see that our economy has maintained steady growth over the past 5 years. Why the Chinese economy has been so successful, I think the report has provided answers. First is the leadership of the party, with Comrade Xi Jinping as the core of the CPC Central Committee. And second is the guidance of the thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics. In my opening remarks, I said that we have rolled out a series of policies, measures, and steps. These are problem-solving oriented, and in this process, we have developed the Marxist economic theories in the context of China's circumstances. And we have the advantage of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. We've been able to mobilize all resources possible to get great things done, which are thinkable in the past. And next, we have super strong implementation capability at various levels of party and government organizations. They've been able to mobilize the enthusiasm of our people to take China's economy forward. We have full confidence in China's future, and General Secretary Xi has laid out the goals going forward. We will complete the building of a moderately prosperous society in all respects, and then move on to build China into a modern socialist country by the middle of this century. And we have full confidence, and we are fully capable of doing that. Thank you.
这样好，那位男，我看看啊，应该是，对，那位男士吧，好，
谢谢主持人，我是香港大公文汇传媒集团的记者。刚才何主任也提到，十九大报告里面给出了一个十分重大的判断，就是说当前我国的社会的主要矛盾已经发生了重大变化。我们想问，如何理解这个判断，同时应该如何化解新的矛盾？谢谢。
With Wen Huibao from Hong Kong, as you mentioned just now, it is concluded by the Party Congress report that the principal contradiction in the Chinese society has evolved. How to understand this important statement and how to address the emerging contradiction?
谢谢。
Thank you. It is pointed out in the report of the 19th Party Congress. General Secretary Xi Jinping made the point that China has entered a new stage of socialism with Chinese characteristics, and the principal contradiction has also evolved. What we are facing now is a contradiction between unbalanced and inadequate development. Other peoples have a growing need for a better life. And this is of overarching and historical importance, and has placed new requirements for the work of the party and the country. We are carefully studying the decision and the spirit of the 19th Party Congress, and we need to carefully analyze the evolution of such contradictions at different stages and in different time periods. In the report, General Secretary Xi Jinping fully elaborated on 6 major problems and contradictions in our economic and social development, which concerns social governance, economic development, people's livelihood. And in terms of economic development, General Secretary Xi stressed several problems, including the weaknesses concerning the quality and effect of development. Our weakness in innovation capacity. Our real economy still need to be further improved. And environmental protection is still a daunting task. With these problems in mind, we need to continue to work hard to adopt measures, address the symptoms, and find solutions, identify the underlying causes, and adopt measures and solutions to address them. And we need to fully implement our measures and gradually address these challenges. But we believe that in this process, we can boost economic and social development and better meet people's ever-growing needs at different development stages and in different time periods. In this way, we can achieve better quality, more efficient, fairer, and more sustainable development. Thank you.
第一排吧，右边来了。
我是中央电视台中国国际电视台的记者，我想问一个有关京津冀协同发展的问题。我们知道，今年4月份的时候，雄安新区是正式成立了。然后前不久呢，北京城市总体规划2016到2035年也是正式对外公布了。想请问一下何主任，雄安新区和北京副中心的进展到底如何了？另外一个，我们看到19大报告当中啊，也是对京津冀协同发展又是做出了新的部署。那么接下去京津冀协同发展还会有一些什么样大的动作？谢谢。
Thank you. I'm with CCTV and CGTN. I have a question on the coordinated development of Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region. In April this year, the Xiong'an New Area was officially announced, and not long ago, the Beijing City Master Plan 2016 to 2035 was made public. So could you update us on the latest progress regarding the Xiong'an New Area and the subsidiary administrative center of Beijing? And it has been outlined in the Party Congress report for the strategy to pursuing coordinated development of Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region. So can we expect any further major steps to be taken to advance their coordinated development?
好，谢谢。你提的3个问题呢，我倒过来回答一下。因为那个
I will answer your 3 questions in reverse order, because Xiong'an New Area and subsidiary center of Beijing are a significant component of the coordinated development. In 2013, General Secretary Xi Jinping put forward the vision of coordinated development, and later he chaired the meeting on the principal leaders of Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei, and officially announced the strategy of coordinated development. Over the past few years, this strategy has been fully implemented. In particular, we have made 3 major breakthroughs. Number 1, the breakthrough in transport. We have extended some roads which in the past were not linked to other roads. We've also upgraded and relocated industries. Beijing has been relieved of some industries or functions which are non-essential to its role as a capital. And these industries and functions have been moved to Tianjin and Hebei. In terms of environmental protection, we have also made major progress. For example, we have promoted the green space development in areas around Beijing. And for some coal-burning pollution, these problems have been carefully addressed. Meanwhile, in promoting other areas of coordinated development in terms of people's livelihood, education, and healthcare, we have also made big progress. So the coordinated development of Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei has been better than our expectations. And as a significant task of this coordinated development, Beijing needs to be relieved of the functions non-essential to its role as a capital. This is a central task. And in order to advance our work, we have stepped up efforts to build subsidiary administrative center of Beijing. Recently, the central government has approved the master plan of Beijing City, and this subsidiary center is located basically in Tongzhou district. And this Tongzhou Development Master Plan is being aligned with the master plan of Beijing City in Langfang and other 3 northern counties, as well as in areas such as Zhuzhou and in southern Beijing, as well as areas in southeastern Beijing. relevant plans are being advanced in line with the master plan of Beijing. In this way, we will promote more effective and orderly development in areas around Beijing. So the development of the subsidiary center of Beijing is basically about the development of administrative center and administrative functions. And after several years of hard work, we have completed the most important tasks. According to our plan, the Beijing Municipal Government, the People's Congress, and Political Consultative Conference and other organs will start to move to Tongzhou, and other organs will start to move to Tongzhou in the second and third quarters of next year. And this has sent a strong signal that we have made major progress in the development of the subsidiary center. And going forward, Beijing will be better relieved of the non-essential functions. And we will take more robust measures going forward. Another important component for the coordinated development is the Hebei Xiong'an area, which was established on April the 1st, and that is about 30 kilometers from Baoding area, basically in Xiongxian and Anding counties. And it is about 2,200 square kilometers, and the initial area is 200 square kilometers. And over the past few months, the planning and development of Xiong'an area has seen big progress. And I would like to focus on 4 points. Number one, we have established efficient and strong party, committee, and government teams, and they are doing a good job at the moment. And number two, we have invited over 300 experts at home and abroad, and basically 12 teams to formulate master plans for the development of Xiong'an area as a whole, as well as the initial area of development. We will take a global perspective, follow world-class standards, and carry Chinese features, and advance from a high starting point to make relevant master plans. And as General Secretary Xi Jinping said that we need to make plans at a high starting point. We're actually doing that, and we have entered the final stage of the formulation of the plan. And I believe soon this plan will be approved. And after the approval of the plan, we will earnestly implement the instruction of General Secretary Xi Jinping, that is to promote the development at a high starting point. Number three, a related point is that we need to make sure that relevant policies and measures of Xiong'an new area will be adopted. And these measures are being formulated at the moment by NDRC and other organizations. At the moment, we are having consultations with relevant stakeholders. And after the master plan of Xiong'an new area is approved, relevant policies and measures will be adopted as well. And number four, as long as relevant plans do not contradict the development of Xiong'an new area, relevant projects will be chosen and advanced. In particular, we are planting trees in major areas. Meanwhile, the high-speed railway or Beijing-Hong Kong railway, Beijing-Xiong'an section, as well as the railway linking the new airport through Bazhou, or called the Xiong'an section of Bazhou high-speed railway, are experiencing preliminary study. We hope that The work and the construction will start very soon. We believe that on the basis of current progress, the development of Xuanyu area will be advanced smoothly and achieve success. We will follow the instructions and requirements of the General Secretary and make sure that Xuanyu area will become a success story. Thank you.
China's fast-paced development has been seen as extraordinarily successful around the world, particularly in developing countries. Sorry, I should say I'm Liliana Worth from Tsinghua CNC. So my question is, to what extent do you think China's mode of development can be copied by other countries around the world?
您好，我是新华社的记者。我的问题是关于中国的经济发展模式。中国近年来取得的快速的经济发展，取得了巨大的成功，得到了国际社会的认可，尤其是发展中国家的认可。那么，您认为中国的模式是否值得其他国家借鉴？
谢谢这个问题，我想请我的同事宁吉喆同志副主任。
Mr. Ning will answer this question.
你这个问题提的这个很有水平。
This is a very good question.
正像刚才何主任也介绍了，最近5年
As Mr. He said,
我国这个经济建设
over the past 5 years,
在改革开放30多年来的基础上。
On the basis of achievements over the past 3 decades since reform and opening up, we have made new progress in economic and social development. This has been achieved under the leadership of the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping as the core. We've been committed to socialism with Chinese characteristics. We've been committed to this path. Without this, our achievement would not have been possible. You know that it's been nearly 40 years since the start of reform and opening up. We've moved from a period of planned economy to market economy with certain amount of planned economy and then to market economy. This is a process of development and opening up and interactions with the rest of the world for mutual benefit, including trade and attraction of foreign capital. In this process, we have taken a series of steps suited to China's circumstances. As a result, millions of Chinese people have been able to be engaged in the cause of development. In the Party Congress report delivered by General Secretary Xi, he pointed out that socialism with Chinese characteristics has entered a new era, and a 14-point basic policy has been laid out. We will continue to follow the leadership of the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi as the General Secretary and the thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, continue to open up and interact with the rest of the world for mutual benefit. As we can see, the world is becoming more multipolar. Economic globalization is deep. Such trend has not changed. Countries are different in their national circumstances, in culture, etc. And all countries pursue economic and social development and improvement of their people's well-being. This is what the countries have in common. While in China, we are pursuing socialism with Chinese features, This is our choice based on China's circumstances. And this is the China model or China proposal for the reference of the rest of the world in their efforts to pursue development and better lives for the people. Some developing countries are turning themselves from low-income country to middle-income countries. And China model could be an option for them, could be a reference and an option. If a country wants to develop itself, it needs to make choices on the basis of its national circumstances. And in his report to the National Congress of the party, General Secretary Xi said that we're also working to advance the Belt and Road Initiative, which is good for the development of the world. I believe with cooperation among all countries in the world, we can learn from each other and draw on each other's strengths. China is willing to share its experience with the rest of the world. We can learn from each other indeed. Thank you.
想找一个外籍记者当那位穿白衣服的女士吧，
好，谢谢主持人，我是来自中国网的记者。从前3季度的数据来看呢，当前的投资增速呢较为疲软，不少市场主体也反映呢，民间企业的投资的意愿不强。那请问3位发布人对此怎么看？另外，19大后对于有没有一些新的举措来促进民间投资，提振民间投资的信心，激发投资的活力？谢谢。
谢谢。
Thank you. I'm with China.org.cn. Figures from the first 3 quarters of this year point to a weak momentum in investment growth. Many private companies seem to be rather reluctant to invest. What is your view? And after this party congress, will there be any new measures to boost private investment and give more confidence to private investment? Thank you.
好，谢谢。这个问题我们想请我的同事
Thank you. I want to ask my colleague, Vice Chairman Zhang Yong, to answer this question. Thank you for your question. Fixed asset investment is important to China's economic development. During the National Day holiday, I've seen the statistics. Within 8 days, over 700 million people went tourism, and our high-speed railway is now over 20,000 kilometers. With such sound infrastructure, such a large number of people can go sightseeing within 8 days. From this, we can tell that in the over 30 years since reform opening up, fixed asset investment and infrastructure investment has played a major role in driving China's economic development. In the first 9 months of this year, total fixed asset investment was 45.85 trillion yuan, up 7.5%, or 0.3 percentage points lower than the first 8 months, and the fall was 2.0 percentage points lower than the previous month. And infrastructure investment has grown steadily, and real estate development is growing as well in a steady manner. And the highlight is investment in high-tech industries and technology transformation. Private investment and manufacturing investment have moderated. In your question, you talk about the weak investment of the private companies. I think we need to take an objective approach. After over 30 years of development, our infrastructure and our industries and our equipment have seen major improvement. In the past, our investment grew at over 20 or 10%. But going forward, the speed of investment growth will be at medium-high level. In the past, if you go to some urban areas, you can see the cranes everywhere. I once visited the capital city of a province. I saw that there were so many cranes. And I asked the city mayor, and he told me that in my city there were about 10,000 cranes, which is even more than the total number in many other countries. Now, if you visit some medium and big cities, we're not seeing so many cranes. And this shows that the major development of infrastructure has already been carried out. Meanwhile, our investment structure is being improved. We have strengthened the weak links. In particular, high-tech industry has seen faster development. In the report, General Secretary Xi listed Tiangong, Spacenet, and Jiaolong submersible, the C919 jumbo jet. Meanwhile, our railway, our high-speed railway, with our own intellectual property, has also seen faster development. So from this, we can tell that fixed asset investment has been growing at a reasonable level. Meanwhile, we are facing some challenges. For example, our government investment is not effective or targeted enough, and there are still some restrictions concerning private investment. And in advancing PPP projects, we need to make it more convenient for investment. And we also need to further improve the investment and financing mechanisms. And in the report of the 19th Party Congress, General Secretary Xi mentioned that we need to further deepen investment and financing mechanisms and leverage the role of investment to promoting the development of the supply-side structural reform. So we need to bear in mind these problems and work hard to address them and ensure that investment can help drive economic development. In terms of private investment, which has attracted great attention from the society in these years, over the past years since reform and opening up, private investment has seen faster growth. A private sector has played a key role in economic development. Over the past 5 years, private investment has taken up over 60% of total investment, reaching as high as 65.4%. And in the first 9 months, it has dropped a bit, now reaching 60.5%. The private sector has created 80% of the jobs, 60% of GDP, 50% of taxes, as well as nearly 70% of outbound investment. Private companies have become a significant component of the Chinese economy. For private companies and private investment, we are seeing a moderation in their speed of growth. I think we need to see this in the context, in the fall of the total investment of the society, and it also has some special reasons, because in areas where private investment is concentrated, basically manufacturing sector and real estate sector, these two sectors are not very strong at the moment. Manufacturing is being transformed and upgraded, and in the real estate sector, overcapacity is being cut. And it also requires the input of production factor, such as land, and which is a bit weak at the moment. But generally speaking, private investment is growing in a steady manner. In the first 9 months of this year, private investment grew 6%, or 3.5 percentage points faster than the same period of last year. In the first 7 or 8 months of last year, the growth rate was only 2.1%, and now it has reached 6%. So the growth rate is stabilizing, and private investment is becoming stronger. The report mentioned that we need to take measures to support private investment and fully leverage the dynamism of various market players. In order to further promote the development of the private sector, we need to take strong measures. We need to address the concerns of the people. For example, there are some restrictions or thresholds. We need to deepen reform to streamline administration, delegate powers, and improve regulation services. And we need to adopt an active list management approach. In this way, the market will become more transparent, and the private companies will have greater independent decision-making power. Another problem is the reluctance of private investors. In order to address their concerns, we need to work hard. We have coordinated with other departments to establish the government information system. In particular, we need to ensure that government departments need to honor their commitments and contracts. And the projects of private companies should not be impeded due to the change of leadership. Another problem concerns the concerns of private investors. Sometimes they do not want to make investment. In order to address this problem, we need to better protect intellectual property rights. And another question or problem is the areas of private investment. As we are experiencing a transformation in the economy, and the government needs to better identify the new areas of investment, we need to provide better policy guidance. For example, railway equipment is a very important area. Recently, the State Council issued a new policy on driving the development of the private investment. And one key point is about the area of investment. We need to better guide the investment into areas with a long industrial chain and into those areas that enjoy bright prospects. So generally speaking, in line with the decision or the outline of the report of the 19th Party Congress, we need to better leverage the dynamism of the private sector so that they can play a bigger role in the economy. Thank you.
《粤港澳大湾区国家战略》自提出以来，一直是各界关注的焦点。请问该战略对港澳地区的发展有哪些具体意义？另外，大湾区内仍存在经济发展不平衡、政治经济制度复杂多样等问题。请问中央政府如何看待这些问题，并解决这些问题？谢谢。
Thank you. With Economic Herald from Hong Kong. Since the launch of the strategy to promote Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, it has riveted much attention in China. How do you think that the strategy will help the development in Hong Kong and Macau SARs? On the other hand, cities in the Greater Bay Area are confronted with such complicated challenges as unbalanced economic development and differences in economic and political system. From the central government's perspective, how do you view these constraints, and what's your plan to address them?
Thank you. In his report to the 19th National Congress of the Party, General Secretary Xi pointed out that Hong Kong, Macau are closely linked with the mainland. And as we celebrated the 20th anniversary of return of Hong Kong to the motherland, General Secretary Xi witnessed the signing of the agreement to build Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. Why do we want to promote the development of this Greater Bay Area? This project is important because through its development, we will be able to support Hong Kong and Macau in integrating their own development into the overall development of the country. In this process, we can further promote the development of Macau, Hong Kong, and Guangdong, the Pearl River Delta area, for the greater benefit of people in Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong. And this area as a whole will be more competitive in terms of economy and will enjoy better public services. This Greater Bay Area includes 9 cities of Guangdong Province, including Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Zhuhai, etc., and also Hong Kong, Macau SARs. It covers more than 56,000 square kilometers with a population of more than 68 million. And the total economy is more than $1.4 trillion. And compared with other famous Bay Areas in the world, including the Tokyo Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and New York Bay Area, our Greater Bay Area is very competitive. And the development of this Bay Area will help us build a world-class city cluster. It's not 9 plus 2 is 11, it's 9 plus 2 bigger than 11. It will have a multiplying effect. We will have rich human resources, strong material foundation, as well as well-developed transportation network. All this will facilitate exchanges between different areas, and this Greater Bay Area is very much used to exchanges with the outside world, so we can expect a lot from the development of this region. And different places in this region can draw strength from each other. With the signing of the agreement on the 1st of July, the development of the Greater Bay Area has taken up speed. NDRC, together with Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, has been working hard on the compilation of a master plan for the development of this Greater Bay Area. This will serve as a blueprint for the development of Greater Bay Area. This work is ongoing. We have finished the first draft, and we are seeking opinions from various sides. We want to hear opinions as much as possible for improvement of this draft. If journalists from Hong Kong and Macau have good opinions, you can let us know. We have a team who's working on this, and we will hear your opinions. This is what we call, we open up doors to develop good programs and plans. So we want to make our plan as good as possible, make it feasible and doable, and we want to make concrete progress in this process. So this is an ongoing process. Related to the development of this plan is scientific and technological innovation. Guangdong, like Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong and Macau, these places have close technological exchanges. Drone, information technology, and other new businesses and new models are developing and have very good foundation. On the existing basis, we will be able to implement the main content of the framework agreement on the development of Greater Bay Area. So various sides are communicating and consulting with each other to come up with specific projects and get them implemented. Good results have been produced. I believe with this project going on, the Greater Bay Area will become an important base for innovation and R&D. Since this is a big area, and also the neighboring area also has great potential for development, research and development, manufacturing, and recycle of the production will move even faster forward through scientific and technological innovation, including innovation of our systems and mechanisms. This Greater Bay Area will become a new source of growth for China. The quality, the efficiency, and performance of development will be leading the development of other regions in China. We are confident in it.
大湾区当中的互联互通，除了通信的互联
What's important is connectivity within the Greater Bay Area, including infrastructure connectivity, water, electricity, road, etc. We are working hard to improve connectivity within the area. We have Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau Bridge. Progress is being made. Things will be basically ready before the end of the year. And we expect that next year it will be put into use. We want to make transportation more convenient to facilitate communication and personnel exchange. We will continue to work on it to make people's exchanges more easier and further facilitate the flow of factors of production. We will look into relevant policies like customs and policies in other areas. And also in the Party Congress report, it is laid out that at the national level and in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, we will all work together. And through our joint efforts, I believe we will make this project successful and contribute to the realization of our 2 centenary goals. I think the Greater Bay Area will contribute its part to the realization of the 2 centenary goals. Thank you.
谢谢，我是中国冶金报的记者。中国冶金报，我想请问何主任，我国钢铁行业自2015年来就推行供给侧结构性改革，取得了巨大的成就。下一步，国家发改委还将出台哪些政策，继续深化钢铁行业的供给侧结构性改革，提升钢铁行业的竞争力？采取哪些措施来防范地条钢的死灰复燃？谢谢。
Thank you. With China Metallurgy News, I have a question for Chairman He. Since China launched the supply-side structural reform with the steel sector in 2015, remarkable achievements have been scored. So we would like to know what new measures will be taken by the NDRC to deepen reform in the steel sector in order to boost its competitiveness and in order to prevent the resurgence of substandard steel products.
谢谢。刚才我在介绍当中呢，已经
In my opening remarks, I touch upon this point. Over the past couple of years, we've taken market-based and law-based measures to cut 110 million tons of backward steel production capacity.
这些钢铁企业，所以现在
And now we are consolidating the results. Substandard steel has been eliminated. Going forward, we need to build on existing achievements and promote the development of high-quality steel. At the moment, Mr. Ning Jizhe is leading a team to study this field. And now I will give the floor to Mr. Ning. Thank you for your question. This is a very important question. Steel sector plays a unique and vital role in China's economy. Many years ago, steel sector was the most important sector in China's economy. Since reform and opening up, this sector has experienced technology innovation, systemic and institutional innovation. In particular, this sector has grown bigger and stronger and has met China's needs for the modernization drive. The sales of steel is 800 million tons at the moment every year. Mr. He said that in the process of development of this sector, we've seen some excess capacity in this field. In the past couple of years, we've cut overcapacity, advanced supply-side structural reform, and we have given priority to cutting overcapacity. And we have eliminated over 100 million tons of backward steel capacity, particularly the substandard steel. But this is an ongoing process. We still need to move ahead. In particular, we need to prevent the re-emergence of the substandard steel capacity, whose production is a violation of laws and regulations. At the moment, our total steel capacity is big, and we need to better manage the relationship between supply and demand, and we need to take firm steps to cut overcapacity. In the report of the 19th Party Congress, it was mentioned that in advancing supply-side structural reform, we need to continue to advance the 5 major tasks to cut overcapacity, reduce inventory, deleveraging, strengthen the weak links, and lower cost. We'll also place emphasis on performance and efficiency and promote technology innovation and technology progress. In this way, the supply of advanced products can better meet the needs of our country. Our steel capacity output is big, but actually we are still importing tens of millions of steel products from overseas. We need to better meet the gap. We need to promote reorganization of companies. We need to promote technology advancement. And in this way, we want to pursue better progress and to make sure that China's steel sector will not only be big, but also strong. At the moment, our technology has already reached a quite high level. But still, there is room for improvement. And with the guidance of the 19th Party Congress, we need to continue to work hard, accelerate efforts to reform and innovate, and ensure that the steel sector can better meet the needs of modernization in China and meet people's ever-growing needs for a better life. Thank you.
先给第3排这位男士吧，头上对。
您好，谢谢主持人，我是人民铁道报的记者。因为众所周知啊，18代以来，我国的高铁发展取得了巨大的成效，高铁网络的规模和运营速度现在都居世界第1位。我的问题就是想请问发改委，下一步我们国家在推进高铁发展方面还有哪一些规划 和哪一些具体的举措？谢谢。
这个问题呢，
Thank you. I'm with People's Railway Daily. Since the last Party Congress, China has made remarkable achievements in the development of its high-speed rail. It now ranks #1 in the world in terms of the length of the highway speed railway lines as well as its speed. So I would like to know what new plans and the new initiatives that will be introduced by NDRC to further promote high-speed rail in China.
好，谢谢。
Thank you for your question.
正像您所说的，已经
Talking about high-speed rail,
通车里程呢，已经世界第一。
as you said, China ranks first in the world. In terms of mileage, it's more than 22,000 kilometers.
高铁的，包括从陆基一直到铁路，包括从车头到车厢，包括到一整套的整个装备水平
In terms of all
运行管理水
specifics
平，我们现在都达到了
and the quality of management,
世界一流的这种水平。
China
所以这
has
方面呢，我们将在
been
未来的发
leading
展
the
当中
world.
作为进一步的往前推动的一个很重要
And
的
we will
这种
continue to press
具体
ahead.
的相关的一些政策呢，我们也正在会同交通部
Together with Ministry of Transportation and the Railway Corporation,
估计经
we
过
are
每年
working
呢都
on
还会有一
relevant
批
policies
高
for the
铁在建，
development of railway
每年有一
projects.
批
We expect further railway projects
高铁
in the
的
years
通
ahead
车，要更好的
and completion
满足
of
和服务
construction.
于这个人民出行的这种客观需要。
And this will
就是刚
better
才我
meet
们
the needs of our
张
people.
勇副主任在回答相关问题的时候呢，都已经说了，像今年
Just
过
now, Vice Chairman Zhang Yong,
去出行
while answering previous
出去
questions,
旅游的人数超过
said
7个亿，
that
这是在全球都不可想象。
we had more than 700 million
高
outbound
铁的
visits
每一，包括普
last
通
year.
铁路，主要是高铁为主。这个长假期间每天的
And
客运量超
the
过
travels within
1500万人
China
次，
are many.
那也是在
This is mainly
任何一个
a
国家
result of development of high-speed rail.
所以
During the long
从
holiday seasons,
补弱
we
项、
have more than
补短板这方面的情况，
15 million travels
客
every
观需求出
day.
发，我们下一步的对高铁的建设呢，还会倾注更多的这个
And
关
in
注
the。future, we will contribute.
同
We
时呢，
will work even
我们
harder
要结合
for the development of
共建“一带一
high-speed
路”
rail.
把我们的这个高铁的技术、高铁的
And
标准
for
高铁
One
的
Belt,
装备
One
水
Road
平呢
initiative,
和“一带一路”沿线国家
we will share
进行
high-speed
共
rail
商，有
development
需要我们将共建，
experience and standard with countries along the
推进呢
route.
人类
If
命运共同体
necessary,
的
we will consult and build together
建设，
for the building of a community of
造福于
shared future
沿线
for
国家
mankind for the benefit of people and countries along the route.
当中那个男士吧，哎，对，这个椅子很挤，我看很难看点，很难点。
谢谢我是路透社的，我就问一下，我们这次这个冬季大气污染的治理，对我们4季度的 GDP 的增长率，还有明年这个比如1季度的这个经济增长，会不会有什么影响？另外，展望一下明年的这个经济前景，因为今年我们知道这个6.5左右的目标肯定已经实现了。谢谢。
I'm with Reuters. I would like to know to what extent will China's efforts to combat smog in the winter season affect economic growth in the fourth quarter of this year and the first quarter of next year? And could you share with us your assessment of China's economic outlook next year? Because we are sure to secure the 6.5% target this year.
谢谢。这个问题我想请我们张
Thank
勇
you.
副主任给回答。
Vice Chairman Zhang Yong will answer this question.
对大气治理污染的治理
For pollution control, this is a major task
这5年来
of
呢
the
先
central
后出
government.
了
Over
大
the
气
past
市
5
场
years, we
水
have
市场
adopted
和
the
土壤
10
市
point
场
regulations on air, water,
对
and soil
大气
pollution
本身的污
control.
染治理也是人民群
For
众的期盼。
air
这个
pollution
总书记
control,
呢，
this
特别
is
在关于生
also
态文明
very much
这
on
个
the
建
minds
设
of the
当中的一
people.
些重要讲话，
And General
都专
Secretary
门
Xi
提到
has
上
made
其中
important
包括
points
说这
in
个环境就是
related areas. He said that
这个
environment
青山就是美，
is about
蓝
people's
天
livelihood,
这个
and the
也
green
是幸
mountains
福。
are beautiful,
因此
and the
我
blue
想
sky is can make people happy. And our development philosophy is to put people first. To control air pollution is a very important task for us. We have a specific mechanism in place, and the Ministry of Environment is the leading agency, and other agencies need to coordinate with that ministry and get the job done. After several years of hard work, we have made important progress in reducing emission. For example, energy consumption per unit of GDP has fallen by 20.9%, and CO2 emission has fallen gradually. And we have conserved and used 10 billion tons of standard coal less, thanks to our great efforts. Going forward, we need to step up our work. To control pollution and protect the environment, we need to carry out some restrictive measures on highly polluting companies. And this will affect the performance of these companies. But this is very important for the overall development of the country and can help us better build the ecological civilization. Going forward, we need to take strong measures, restrictive measures on these highly polluting companies will not have a big impact on the overall performance, because over the past few years, in the highly polluting industries, we have carried out strong measures. Every year, we have some evaluation indicators for different provinces and place requirements on these provinces. And relevant evaluation methods and indicators are related for the emission of power plants. And the technologies of these power plants have become more sophisticated than before. With these combined measures, we'll see more days of blue sky. In the long run, these environmental measures boost economic development. And the Ministry of Environment will hold a press conference, and they will talk about the specifics. Thank you. We will discuss these matters on environmental protection and ecological civilization at that press conference.
谢谢主持人，我是中国新闻社、中国新闻网的记者。我有一个问题就是现在社会上有一些声音是说中国出现了这种外资的这个撤离潮，而且呢，也有一些咱们这个外资在抱怨说中国现在在中国这种吸引外资的环境也发生了一些变化。想请问一下领导们对这个问题有什么看法？同时呢，就是咱们现在是不是在严控对外的投资？ 第二个呢，就是关于这个国际产能合作，咱们有没有一些什么举措来促进在这种国际产能合作中能够达到这种互利共赢？谢谢。
Thank you. I'm with China News Service. Now, there has been the talk of capital outflows from China, and some foreign companies are voicing complaints about a change in the investment climate. What do you think? And separately, is China discouraging outbound investment? And what measures can be taken to ensure that international cooperation on production capacity will benefit all parties concerned?
Thank you. Mr. Ning will answer this question. Actually, you've raised 3 questions. Foreign investment, outbound investment, and international production capacity. NDRC has very important responsibility in all these areas. At the outset, I would like to say that the CPC Central Committee, with General Secretary Xi at its core, has attached great importance in this area. In 2015, the CPC Central Committee has decided to build an open economy and to gradually
build a strong country that is open. And this year, General Secretary Xi chaired the leading group on fiscal and financial affairs, which has called for the reform of the investment environment and the market environment. China's investment environment has kept improving, and China's opening up policy has been adhered to and has not changed. In particular, in the report of this Party Congress, it was mentioned that China will not close its door to the world, will only become more and more open, and our foreign investment policy will only become more open, more equitable, and more convenient. In recent years, China has been one of the leading countries in attracting foreign investment. We are number 2 or number 3, and sometimes we're even number 1. We have been number 1 among the developing countries in attracting foreign investment. In the first 9 months of this year, China attracted $29.1 billion of foreign investment, which is a large number. And there is still room for further improvement to improve for the business environment. Foreign companies are facing some problems and difficulties as they do business here. To address their problems, the State Council has adopted 2 specific documents on attracting foreign investment. One is about the specific measures on attracting foreign investment. The other is about promoting the increase of foreign investment. So these are 2 documents that were adopted this year. Actually, within just 6 months, we adopted 2 important documents which fully reflect the importance that the central government attaches to foreign investment and our commitment to improve the business environment. And these measures are very robust. Going forward, we need to fully implement the pre-establishment national treatment and active list management approach, and ease market access substantially. In this way, we can better improve the business environment. In terms of fair competition, we should not only adopt national treatment before the access, but also after the access. And we treat all companies as equals. So these are the measures that we will adopt in terms of market access and fair competition. In terms of investment facilitation, we have adopted a record-keeping management approach. And over 90% of foreign investment are subject to localized record-keeping management. And in some areas, they are exploring more reform measures so as to better facilitate investment procedures. With these measures and efforts, we are confident that more and more foreign investment will come to China, which is a growing major market, and China is a very good destination for them to carry out international business. And I believe with the joint efforts, the market will become more open, more effective, more reasonable, and more equitable. In terms of outbound investment, China has also being very supportive, and we support competent companies in going global and pursue win-win results. But this policy and approach have not changed. By the end of 2016, China has invested a total of $1.36 trillion overseas and have set up 37.2 thousand companies overseas. Last year, we invested $196.15 billion overseas, number 2 in the world, and the total investment stock is number 6 in the world. The report of the 19th Party Congress makes clear relevant requirements. That is, we need to adopt new measures of outbound investment and form a trade financing and investment network. In this process, facing various risks of outbound investment, we will better guide the companies to regulate their overseas investment. In August this year, the State Council General Office issued the guidelines of further guiding and regulating outbound investment, which can provide good guidance to the companies to carry out management and operations and prevent various risks. Meanwhile, we are making relevant laws concerning outbound investment, which can boost the sustained and sound development of outbound investment. This year, our outbound investment has reached $78 billion, and actually the fall has moderated, and we have listed specific measures in relevant documents to encourage outbound investment. Meanwhile, we have also reminded the companies to restrict their investment in some specific sectors in order to prevent risks. Meanwhile, in the report of the 19th Party Congress, we have also mentioned the importance of carrying out international production capacity cooperation, and the principle is business first, market orientation, international practices, and government guidance. And we need to better leverage the advantages of China and other countries to pursue win-win results. To ensure success in this process, we need to improve the support mechanisms. We have established production capacity and investment cooperation mechanisms with 36 countries, and we need to establish more such mechanisms going forward. And we have also set up third market cooperation mechanisms with France, Germany, and other advanced economies. We have also carried out multilateral production capacity cooperation with ASEAN and other regional organizations. Going forward, we need to better communicate with each other in terms of our production capacity policies and help the companies match their needs and implement relevant projects. Number two, we need to implement relevant projects and policies. We need to better leverage the financial support mechanisms and create a sound environment for companies in conducting production capacity cooperation. Number three, we need to provide better guidance, continue to encourage companies to take an active part in the Belt and Road development and international production capacity cooperation and get integrated into the global industrial chain and the value chain. We also encourage them to observe the local laws and regulations, honor their social responsibility, and pursue win-win results and common development. Number four, we will ensure sound implementation of the measures. We will step up policy communication with relevant countries, implement the already signed cooperation documents, strengthen the multi-party cooperation platform, advance relevant negotiations, and work for early harvests so as to deliver benefits to the people of various parties. Thank you. Last question.
谢谢主持人。我来自经济日报、中国经济网、经济日报两位一端。最近几年来呢，以制造业为代表的这个实体经济的发展，还是面临了一定的这种下行的压力，或者说面临了一定的困难。那么大量的资金呢，从实体部门抽离，这个又进一步加剧了实体经济的这个下行的压力。我的问题是，我们当前对这个资本的这种偷实向虚的这么一个现象怎么看？然后下一步呢，我们有什么样的这个举措去解决这个问题？谢谢。
Thank you. I'm with the Economic Daily. In recent years, the real economy, especially the manufacturing sector, is confronted with mounting downward pressure and has been operating in jeopardy. And a great deal of capital has left the real economy, precipitating the difficulties faced by the manufacturing and real economy sector. So my question is, how do you view the situation of financial resources turning away from the real economy, and what steps may be taken to remedy the situation? Thank you.
谢谢。这个问题请我们张勇副主任给你回答。
Vice Chairman Zhang Yong will take this question. Thank you for your question.
确实是客观存在，因为这几年
Well,
受国
what
际
you
金
said
融
is
危
true.
机的影响，
As a result of the international financial crisis,
市场呢相
the
对疲软，
weakening market demand, both home and abroad,
能力下降这么一种情况下
and the declining
社会
of
资本
profitability of real
出现了
economy,
脱实向虚，
capitals
企业
and
呢
enterprises
也出现了
are turning
弃实
away
投
from
虚的
the real economy.
这个现象，是吧？那么当然这种现象呢，确实对于我们这个结构调整，对于我们这个
Well, for
产业升级创新
readjustment of economic
是带来了
structure,
一定的
industrial upgrading, and innovation-driven development,
那么
such
我
phenomena
想
is not
这个本
helpful.
身来讲，作为一个市场的主体企业，那么
As
它
market
确实
players,
是它本身就是一种博弈。
enterprises
它认为哪个是吧哪儿
go
哪里
for
这个流
profit.
向就是能够收益更高，它就会流向哪儿。
They
那
pursue
么他认为
profit.
好像是吧？
This
虚
is
拟
what
经济这边
companies do.
收益好了，它就可能
If they think real economy
但是我
is
看
more
总体上来讲
profitable,
我们的实体
then they will
经
go
济
into the
发
real
展
economy.
还是持续稳定的，是吧？当
But
然
if not,
有
they
这
will
种
go
现象，
away.
是吧？脱实向虚的这种现
So
象。
what you
但
said
是
is
总体
true.
实
The
体
phenomenon does
这
exist.
个应该说大局是稳定的。那
But
么
the
十九大
larger
总书记的
situation
这个
remains
19大报告
stable
当
with
中
regard to the
高度
development of the
重
real
视这个问
economy.
题，是吧？特别强调
As you can
是吧
see
要
in the
建立
report of the Party
现代化的
Congress,
经济体系，
the Party Central
是吧？
Committee
把发
attaches
展经济的
great
着力点
importance
要
to
放
this
在实体
issue.
经济上，是吧？要
It said
努力
that
提高
we
是吧
must
供给
develop
体
a
系的努
modernized
力提
economy.
高
We
供
must
给体
focus on the
系
real
的
economy,
质量
give
作为
priority
主
to
攻方向。
improving
我
the
想
quality
这
of
个
the
对于我们
supply
下一
system.
步引导社会资本向实体经济聚力发力，是吧？那么我们是
And
指明了努力的方向。
this
让我们
has made clear
因
the
为整
direction for our
我们
work
经
going
济
forward
能够走到
as
今
to
天，
how we
我
can
想
focus
我
on the development
基
of
础
a real
就是
economy.
依靠着实体经济的这种发展，是吧？那么
Real
这
economy
几年
provides
来
the
呢，
foundation
应该
for
说
the development of the
在中
economy,
央国
so
务院的
we
这
must
个
do our work well
领
in
导
this
下，
area.
那么按照中央的部署
In recent years,
我们始终呢把
following the
振兴实体
instructions
经
of
济
the
作
party
为
central
供给侧
authority,
结构性改革的一个是吧主要任务，是吧？这
we
些
are
年应该
boosting
说
the
在这方
development of
面
the
我
real
们一
economy
直在努力，
as an
是吧？
important
也
part
取得
of
了一定的成
the
效，是吧？
supply
包括
side
产业
structural
升级
reform.
是吧？包括我们制造
We
业的
have
这种
made
振
some
兴啊、稳
progress,
定市场预
including
期啊，包括
stabilizing
刚才
market
讲到的，董书
expectations
记
and
讲到的，
promoting
在报告当中讲
industrial
到列举的
upgrading.
那么
You can
多的
see
科
the
研成果
measures
啊、
and
问世
progress
啊，这些我想
listed
都是
in
是
the
吧？这个我们各个
Party
部门、
Congress
各个地
report.
区在落实中央是吧？
So
振兴实体经济啊，深化供给
Government
侧结
at
构
all
性改革
levels has
所取
been
得的成果。
implementing
但是
the
要把这
policy
个着
measures
力
to
点
boost
放在
real
实体经济
economy
上，确实
development.
我们还要是吧？
Of
问
course,
题导
in
向，
this
还
area,
要
we need
针
to
对
do more.
是吧
We
刚
need
才
to
包括记
address
者朋友
the
提到
problems
的
that
这
exist,
些
including the
具体
ones
问
that
题
you
是吧
mentioned.
我们来解决。那么包括现在是吧？我们还是有一个投资效益不高的问题，是吧？这个
We need to
包括我们
address
的
the
质量
problem of
是吧也还不够高的问题。
less of
那我们想
profitability
呢
of
要解
investment
决这些问题，
and
是吧
poor
我们就要按
performance
照这个
and
19大
poor
的这个
quality
是吧
in the real
采取
economy.
更有力的措施。
So we
我
will
想主
take
要呢应该在这么
targeted
几个方
measures
面去着
to
力，是吧？一个
remedy
就
the
是要补齐
situation.
发展的短板，
First, we
是
need
吧？
to
增加
strengthen the
有
weak
效的供给，是吧？
points,
那么我
increase effective supply.
补齐发展短板呢，既有硬件又有软件，然后硬
We
件
need to
就是
focus
我
on
们
both
要
of hardware and software.
这个加快推进啊，战略新兴产
We
业
will
啊，
speed up the development of emerging industries and advanced manufacturing. And talking about software, we need to improve our work related to the system of standard certification and accreditation, etc. And we will further streamline administration and delegate power to reduce burdens for our enterprises.
国务院是下了很大的力气。
The State Council has done so much to cut tax and fees by 1 trillion RMB. We need to sort out the relationship between the government and the market to allow our enterprises to give more financial resources to the development of real economy. And we also need to implement innovation-driven development strategy and shift the growth drivers. We have rolled out the initiative of encouraging mass entrepreneurship and mass innovation. You must have seen our innovation parks around this country. The player in innovation parks could become Alibaba tomorrow. College graduates and migrant workers who have gone home. All these people have great creativity, and they can play a positive role. In this area, we will give them more support for them to be successful. Moreover, we will address excess capacity to improve allocation of stock resources. Like the issue of steel that you mentioned. Over the years, we have been investing heavily for the development of some industries, and we have solved long-standing issues, including road, transportation, productivity. But now we have had some new problems, including excess capacity in some industries and sectors, including steel and electricity. And we will work hard to address excess capacity, especially backward capacity, and improve the stock resources. We have high-quality resources in place and high-quality capacity in place. And they are much more advanced than the backward ones. We need to make good use of them. And also financial institutions and financial services, we need to improve all of them so that they will provide better services to the real economy. And also services sector, especially producer services, we need to do a better job so that the real economy could achieve better development and contribute to the overall economic and social development. Thank you.
有不少记者一直在举手，因为时间关系啊，不能再安排了，很抱歉。欢迎大家出席以后的发布会和集体采访。今天的记者招待会到此结束，谢谢大家。
And that was the press conference by the NDRC. Went on for about an hour and 40 minutes, packed with questions. Of course, the NDRC director also wrapped up how far China has become in terms of reforming its economy, and then took about a dozen or more questions on very pertinent issues like, is there really an exodus of foreign investment, and can you really have a win-win situation in terms of international capacity cooperation, and why is private investment slowing down? So with these questions in mind, I'm going to turn to my studio guest. Thank you for staying around for so long, Mr. Zhao Zhongxiu and Michele Geraci. So tell me, what were your takeaways from that press conference? Mr. Zhao first.
Well, the press is very impressive and very impressive, and highlights the achievements for the past 5 years and the future plan for this Congress and for the economic upgrading and the industrial capacity cooperation internationally, and especially to support the new business and also the poverty elevation. So that's the new map for the development. This is the new development vision, address the new development vision, and have lots of concrete measures will be taken after this the Congress, and and also that, some policies we will extend, and some new priority we will take, like the regional development, like the Macau Greater Bay Area, and also the new driving force for the development, like the innovation and technology, and also improve the environment.
Before we get to you, Mr. Geraci, I'm just going to go live to our reporter Nathan King, who is at the media centre where the press conference was just held. Hey Nathan, so what issues stood out to you at the press conference?
Well, I think you said it at the outset, 100-minute long press conference, so there's not just one issue, many. I mean, first of all, they really tackled the fact that the criticisms that they've had around the world that perhaps reform isn't moving fast enough, saying that we've enacted 1,500 reforms across sectors, especially look at our steel overcapacity. That has come way down, 100 million tons of capacity cut. Bad steel products are now off the market. They are moving up the value chain, but also not just a focus on the industries that built modern China, but also the ones that are going to take it into the 21st century. Very much focusing on the future, talking about unicorns companies, those companies that are distinct in the 21st century era of tech, and basically saying 90 of them come from here in China. That's about a third of the world total. We will be encouraging innovation as well, and also very much focusing on, in terms of not just creating quantity, of course, but quality going forward, addressing Xi Jinping's contradiction that we could also see. We're seeing unequal development at the same time where the Chinese people are needing better and better lifestyles, and how can economic development solve that contradiction. So a lot in there to unpack, but also I think for the foreign audiences, something you can hang your hat on as well, a sort of reassurance to opening up. Basically saying that China will make sure that it opens up. They reference 2 state council documents about foreign investment here, and saying things are going to get better. And it's not just about opening Chinese markets, but also creating a level playing field for foreign companies when they're here as well. Now, a lot of foreign companies, as we know, have complained that does not exist. Well, here we got a commitment that it's going to.
Thanks a lot for that, Nathan. Now let's get back to Michele Geraci. We were asking you about broad impressions of the press conference.
Well, one general impression is, and it's true for this conference, for many others, and it's a very positive thing about China, is that China has a plan. This is very different from many other countries around the world.
They just have tweets and changing ones.
We do things to do step by step. It's like China has this, crossing the river by filling the stone. But in this case, some of the stones are very big, and so it does require planning. In many other countries in Europe, I can say this because that's where I come from, we're trying to fly a bit blind by wire without really knowing exactly where we want to go. And maybe China doesn't necessarily know better, but it shows that it's making an effort and is aware that this is an immense challenge. It's very easy for us, sitting here and complaining, criticizing, while we just write a piece of paper and we say what should be done. One other thing is for the president of chairman of a country with 1.4 billion people to actually make all this, the puzzle of all the moving parts coming together. So this is the impressive thing that we always admire, and I think maybe there is a little bit lack of understanding in the West about how difficult this can be. And I want to emphasize that we should really be respectful of people that do this plan, the NDRC and other units, because this is a big dynamic system undertaking. And the thing that is positive is China plans, and when you plan well, you meet your objective. A couple of days ago, when the GDP number came out, people were surprised, but I wasn't. China always meets and exceeds its objective, always, 99% of the times. One thing specific I want to mention is, you mentioned it before, poverty alleviation. Of all metrics of economic success, GDP per capita, that we know it's not really, wealth, happiness, environment. China has done a lot. We're talking about 50 million people in the last few years, 800 million in 40 years.
But then a lot of the poverty was created in the past 30 years before the reform and opening up.
So we just discussed from 1978 on, which has been, the average income in the rural areas in 1978 was 130 renminbi per capita, and in the city 340 renminbi per capita. And
I remember when my mum earned 48 yuan a month as a teacher.
And we are talking
1984.
about 100 times improvement. Yes, we come from a very low base, but many other countries come from a very low base and remain at a very low base. So it is, if we split the history of China into two segments, the last 40 years have been remarkable, not just for China, but for mankind.
For sure. China has a plan. Thank you. Hold that thought. For now, though, let's get to our reporter Xia Chen, who's standing by in Beijing, and Ge Yunfei in Guangzhou. So obviously, industrial upgrading is going to be a big part of China's new growth model. Xia Chen, what can you tell us? I mean, based on all the interviews that you do with industrial leaders in the country about that upgrading process.
Well, so Beijing has a role here. It already has a large innovative community, including IT startups, biotech companies, and financial firms that are data-driven. But Beijing is packed, and that slows business activities in tech. For example, big data servers and robotic labs need huge space for their facilities. Tech land space in Beijing is just a luxury. Imagine a driverless car that never gets to be tested on the ground. So a lot of those business and talents will move out to Xiong'an. So the BAT are on the move. Insurers like PICC have had new offices there, and property developers like Wanke are also cashing in. Morgan Stanley says investors will pour more than $360 billion into the city, and 5 million people will leave Beijing for that city. But this kind of regeneration plans take decades. For now, China only ranks the 22nd in the Global Innovation Index with $377 billion of R&D spending, mostly state-led, and that money for research is only 2% of the GDP, behind South Korea, Japan, Germany, the US, France, and your hometown Australia. Private investors are not as confident as their state-owned peers for throwing millions of yuan into R&D, as they don't feel safe with their intellectual property, and that's why authorities said on this year's CPC National Congress that they will ensure that private and public IP will be equally protected. And let's see how that goes. And at least it might, make the air cleaner in Beijing, I guess, Lei.
Yes, we need a lot of technological breakthroughs there. Thanks for wrapping that up for us, Xia Chen. What about you, Ge Yunfei? You speak to so many manufacturing companies in Guangdong, which is quite a powerhouse in that, and you have really seen that upgrade take place, haven't you?
Yes, but just as they mentioned in the press conference, China is now pursuing an innovation-driven economy, and as the world's biggest manufacturing powerhouse, China has been attempting to upgrade its manufacturing sector for years now. Right now, I'm based in Guangdong Province, China's largest manufacturing base, and speak with many entrepreneurs daily. And in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, most of the small and medium-sized labor-intensive private manufacturing firms here took a heavy blow due to shrinking overseas orders, rising salaries, and increasingly competitive players like India and Vietnam. So those companies used to struggle to make a profit and survive. But in the past 5 years, they realized the old way of doing business, that is being a copycat of international designs or assembling factory for global brands, just won't cut it in this new era. And lamp producers are setting up their own design departments. Aluminium manufacturers are developing new technologies to attract customers, and other manufacturing firms are cultivating more skilled workers to operate sophisticated machinery. And internet companies here like Tencent and Baidu are beginning to lead in applications development and innovations worldwide. Smartphone producers especially are growing to be capable rivals to Apple or Samsung. And all those changes happened in the past 5 years. Optimism instead of pessimism is overwhelming in the circle of entrepreneurs. And those entrepreneurs may not spend much time thinking about the specifics of the national strategy, like manufacturing upgrade, restructuring the economy. They're more of a type of touching the ground, but they do feel that innovation is the only thing that can help them survive and prosper. And I think this renewed drive from them is exactly what keeps China's economy energetic, dynamic, and sustainable. And let me give you some figures to help you understand. In 2012, Samsung and Apple were the two biggest smartphone brands in terms of sales volume in China. But in the first half this year, guess the best-selling brand in China was Oppo, a local brand based here in Dongguan, the city just between Guangzhou and Shenzhen. And 4 of the top 5 phone brands here are Chinese smartphones: Oppo, Vivo, Huawei, and Xiaomi. And in the past 5 years, China has been a global leader In terms of patent applications, accounting for nearly 40% of the world's output, so the name of the country of plagiarism has been cut off. And so all in all, manufacturing upgrade is not only in vain words, but echoed in real and fast actions. I just went to some local manufacturing firms to find out their latest situation. Now let's take a look. Polishing glass lenses, sewing stuffed toys, and making cell phone protective cases. China's huge population of skilled workers and cheap cost of labor propelled the country to become the world's factory over the past 2 decades. But things took a turn when suddenly many Chinese manufacturers found they were lagging behind their global competitors and market demand.
In 2012, the Times Group informed us that the labor in China was twice as expensive as in Mexico and 4 times of that in India.
In early 2015, we signed around 20 big deals, but by the end of that year, lots of clients had canceled orders and we only had 3 orders left. We knew we had a big problem.
Robots and automated machines were introduced to factories on a massive scale. In this Chinese factory of the German brand Kao Zeiss, robots reduced the cost per lens to the lowest of all the Zeiss factories in the world.
In 2012, the factory had 440 workers producing 4 million lenses every day. In 2015, the number of workers decreased by 70 people, but output increased to 5 million.
Some firms even took it a step further, building an unmanned factory boasting 160 automated machines, no workers, relying solely on robots to carve metal plates without human instruction.
And the whole manufacturing process is connected on the cloud. Now we can monitor all the real-time statistics and the situation inside the factory.
China is going through a new type of industrialization, and experts say the final result is crucial to whether China can keep its economic prosperity in the following decades. In 2015, the Chinese government issued the Made in China 2025 strategy, encouraging intelligent manufacturing, and later that year, President Xi Jinping brought forward the idea of supply-side reform, vowing to upgrade China's manufacturing sector.
We've been talking about economic transformation for many years, but I think the real change started 2 years ago. In the past decade, China's real economy was at a difficult time as many entrepreneurs chose to leave the manufacturing sector for the financial or property sectors. But now, the real economy is gradually gaining hope and confidence back.
President Xi said on Wednesday that the principal contradiction facing Chinese society is imbalanced and inadequate development, and at the same time, the people's ever-growing need for a better life. Professor Liang Qi said the new type of industrialization is a crucial part of the solution.
We're not only catching up with the developed countries, but also pursuing new heights in the global manufacturing sector. And the new fortunes created in this process can be used to support the development of underdeveloped regions.
Experts say while China's fresh industrialization may be an ongoing process, it's definitely worth the anticipation.
Thank you so much, Xia Cheng in Beijing and Go Yunfei in Guangzhou for bringing us that update on China's industrial transformation. Let's get back to our studio guests for impressions of the press conference. Now, what was mentioned in Go Yunfei's story about the Made in China 2025 initiative, of course, I want to ask you, Michele, what do you think of international community concerns that China is just protecting its homegrown companies and keeping out foreign ones with that initiative?
Again, from the point of view of China, this is the best thing that China can do. China realized that China cannot do services very well. To do services takes time. China core competence is manufacturing, just like a company. It has a couple of years ago reverted back to its core competence. So that's a very welcome development for China. From the point of view of foreign investors, this is what I call it the tsunami of the China manufacturing that I fear may completely wipe out the whole manufacturing industry in Europe. Except
wipe out? Really?
Yes, because...
That's drastic.
It is, because we have China is the only country that in the world can mobilize at the same time capital, labor, and even know-how. State subsidies or not, it has a lot of money, has a lot of people, and so we don't. So the competition is now difficult because the economies of scale dominate manufacturing. A few weeks ago, I was discussing on another TV shows about how China making bicycle can compete with European manufacturer. In Europe, we make 1 million bicycle. In China, 50 million. And so it is impossible to compete.
But the profits are not in manufacturing. The profits are in the core components that make up bikes and phones and planes and all that.
That's what China is doing, is doing down the value chain and regaining the competence or re-exporting the competence in making even the components. So when you compete 1 to 50 in terms of volume, yes, there may be subsidies, there may be dumping, there may be all these trade friction, but even if they weren't,
you look like you have something to add.
It's impossible to compete with 1 to 50 scale.
Well, actually, the last gap has changed since China. This is a fair playground for the competitors. Since China, we have the so-called mega domestic market. That's for the manufacturer, you can use this element. You can allocate the technology, the capital, the labor, and of course the purchasing power together. So then you have you can the more efficient production network or production process. So that's you gain your the competitiveness this for the market and some for the industry like the equipments. And so in China, since we have the huge demand for that, so that's our equipment manufacturing for the construction, for whatever we have a huge demand for development. While in a small company or a medium company in Europe, you just have a very limited market, so then you have less experience. So that's we cannot compete with this fast market.
Okay, thank you so much for the insights today, and of course sitting with us for that 2-hour press conference. And that was Professor Zhao Zhongxiu from the University of International Business and Economics, and of course Mr. Michele Geraci from Nottingham Business School in China. And I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the NDRC press conference as part of the 19th National Congress of the Chinese CPC. I'm Zhang Lei in Beijing. Do tell us what you think on our website, CGTN.com. Signing out.